નમસ્તે, સત શ્રી અકાલ, ખમા ઘણીસા.
અરે અમદાવાદમાં આવીને કેમ છો ભૂલી ગઈ?
ઓ કેમ છો અમદાવાદ?
Guys, I know it's a bit dull and gloomy atmosphere outside, but we are much more brighter than that. Come on, one more time with a little more energy. કેમ છો અમદાવાદ?
Yeah, this is the level of confidence we want in you guys. On that note, I Dhruvi Mehta,
And I, Trishiv Shastri, your master of the ceremony.
your host and host, welcomes you all to National CS Today Conference 2024 based on the theme Yantra Manas.
Organized by Board of Studies and hosted by our own branch of Ahmedabad, Vikasa. Dhruvi, you know, I am so having butterflies in my stomach right now.
Why so? Remembering someone special, huh?
No. That's because our aeroplane of first technical session, GST, is about to take off.
So students, please fasten your seat belt as you may find some turbulence on the stage now.
Turbulence? Why so?
As our esteemed dignitaries and well-researched paper presenters will shower the waves of knowledge from the dais.
All
Rishiv,
right.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know who is the session chairman?
Oh yes, it's my pleasure to introduce you all to our session chairman, CA Dr. Avinash Podarsan. Please give a huge round of applause. Now, I would like to request Vice Chairman of ICAI Ahmedabad, CA Neeraj Agarwal sir, and Managing Committee member, Mr. Krish Shah, to escort our session chairman to the dais.
So guys, one more time, please give him a huge round of applause. Talking about our session chairman, CA Dr. Avnish Podar sir, who is one of the light in the spectrum of the profession.
He is a CA as well as an advocate, and as an author, he has enhanced the knowledge of our budding chartered accountants and esteemed members.
He has also empaneled as arbitrator in Indian Council of Arbitration and is also undertaking arbitration matters.
Now, on that note, I would like to request Vice Chairman of ICAI Ahmedabad, CA Neerav Agarwal sir, and Managing Committee member of Vikasa Ahmedabad, Mr. Krish Shah, to felicitate our session chairman, CA Dr. Avinash Podar sir.
Now, I would like to welcome knowledge banks of our session, our intellectual paper presenters, Mr. Harsh Dilip Shah, Mr. Yashish Vipul Shah, and Ms. Harshita Agarwal. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Now, it's my honor to call CA Neerav Agarwal sir and Mr. Krish Shah to felicitate our graceful paper presenters. Dhruvi, I have a question. Do you know something about GST?
Well, up to my knowledge, GST is गुड्स के साथ साथ सर्विस के संग संग और साथ ही टैक्स भरते चल.
Well, what a line to sum up GST. But also analyzing the effect of GST collection in India signifies that what a simplified tax reform has propelled our nation's ranking in global economy.
Enhancing transparency and boosting investors' confidence. Now, I would like to welcome our first paper presenter, Mr. Harsh Dilip Shah, to present on the topic GST collection in ranking India in global economy.
Please give him a big round of applause.
Now, I would like to introduce our jury, CA Punit Prajapati and CA Amish Khandar. Give them a huge round of applause.
કેમ છો અમદાવાદ? Impact of GST collection on India's global economic ranking. By the way, the answer is quite evident from the cover page itself. Yes. Table of contents. First, we will build the foundation of the topic and slowly we will move towards the advanced level. As most of the students belong to the post-GST era, I would like to brief about the pre-GST era with the help of a role play of this iconic scene. See, Anna, what are the name of taxes I have to comply with? And your name, sales tax. Sales tax, one tax, I can do it. Waiter, sales excise value added tax. Sales excise value added service, entertainment, luxury, auction. Stop! I do not want to comply with all this. Sir, we have not even reached at the 50% of the taxes, sir. No, don't tell me I have to comply with all this. So this much complex doing business was earlier. Now we will see few points. Like first, if I say, if you are doing inward supply, you are paying VAT, and when you are doing outward supply, you are paying service tax. But the problem is that you won't be getting the credit of value-added tax on the service tax, and which also create the problem of cascading effect, that's tax on tax effect. So it means for every product and service, you have to pay 3 guna lagan. Next, you can see the diagram besides the points, right? You have already judged how complex this situation is. So, as some taxes were governed by the central, some by state, I mean, it was so confusing and complex for even like professional like us. Each tax has the different procedure of appeals, refunds, and whatnot. Also, furthermore, the state, all states are having different rate of indirect taxes, which is creating lack of uniformity. Economic inefficiencies. The earlier tax did not have the invoice matching concept, which means that it invites the tax evaders into it to evade the tax. And that's how inefficiency is created. Now, you all are the master of GST. Section 16 to Section 21, you know how the sleek the process of claiming ITCs, and which also eliminates the problem of cascading effect. So, this simplified and streamlined structure had made the ease of doing business ranking increased of India, which we will also see it further. Uniformity maintained because as all the states having the same rates. Then after all this explanation, I feel like no one would deny that this tax structure is the easier one. Now for economic efficient, I would like to say that 53rd GST Council meeting happened 22nd June 2024. Yes, that's a week ago, in which Nirmala Sitharaman ji has said that there will be implementation pan-India of biometric-based Aadhaar authentication. for registration, which will curb the fake registrations. And this will help us to build economic efficient. Economic indicator. What do you think? What economic indicator we should use? GDP? Yes. So what is the GDP of India? Let's see. These are rupees in crores. 2 crores 95 lakh is the GDP. Moving further, after understanding two important G's, that GDP and GST, we will now interlink both of the G's. First, we will see what is the proportion of GST in GDP. If you see 18-19, it's 6.23%. Ignoring COVID years, in 23-24, it has increased to 6.83 and it will go beyond 7% in next year, 24-25, because in April itself, we have reached all-time high GST collection. It's 2.1 trillion rupees. So after seeing it, we will move towards correlation of these two terms. There are two graphs, GST and GDP. You can observe the pattern. Pattern is moving in the same direction. So if GST decreases, GDP decreases, GST increases, GDP increases. And that's how a significant impact of GST is on GDP. Now we will see some impact of GST on various industries. Let's begin with the export industry. Earlier, the refund process was quite cumbersome and tedious. But after GST, it has become faster and smoother. Logistics, anyone who have traveled before 2017 on the highway has seen the huge long miles line of trucks for clearing entry tax near the state borders, right? But thanks to e-way bill and e-invoicing, which solved this problem and increase in the economy. Now moving further, we will see the fiscal health. Now the first three bars belong to the pre-GST era and last three belong to the post-GST era. Now you can see the difference of both the groups of bar. So the highest in pre-GST era is around 8 trillion rupees. That's total indirect tax collection. But in post-GST era, the highest is 14.83 trillion. So there is a difference of 6 trillion due to GST. FDI. Come on, sing along with me. तुम तो धोखेबाज हो, वादा करके भूल जाते हो. Every nation which has implemented GST has seen sudden spike upwards in FDI. But when it turns to India, we have also seen sudden spike, but downwards. So here we were at 27% and we came to -3%, and that's where dhokha happened with us. The reason behind is that India is having second highest average GST rate, which is discouraging investors. So every policy has negative as well as positive effects. This is impacting negatively to our ranking, but there are also positively impacting factors like ease of doing business. Now you can see the ranking right in the implementation of GST year. We have come much further from 130th rank to 200 rank, and in 2020 we are at 63rd rank. That's the increase in the ranking of ease of doing business. Now, our businesses are quite competitive globally. Due to GST, they have to focus less on administrative part and more towards the business and valuation of that business. We have 112 unicorns and some are even decacorns, right? So, here we are competing globally. Next, fiscal health. As most businesses are willing to get into a formalized tax structure rather than being in the informal tax structure. Now, increasing informal tax structure also means that more and more people are willing to pay tax, and that is improving our fiscal health. In the end, I would say that the day is not far enough when we will see India on the top of the ranking and dominating the world. And we, chartered accountants, are having the utmost responsibility of doing it. And yes, ICI has empowered us enough with the knowledge that we could take India further. Jai Hind, Jai ICI, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harsh. You presented it very energetically and with all the grace. Let's give him once again a big round of applause.
Trishif, I have a question.
Sure, Dhruvi, go ahead.
What would be the people's perspective when GST came into practice?
Well, I have one line for you कि GST के रंग में रंगे सबके अपने रंग, नए कानून ने दिए नए सोच के ढंग.
What are you trying to say? Even our audience seems confused.
All right. Then, to get rid of the confusion and dive deeper into the insights,
I would like to welcome our next paper presenter, Mr. Yashish Vipul Shah, to present on topic controversies in GST. Please give him a
Big
huge
round of
round of applause.
Back in 2017, GST was introduced to subsume 17 indirect taxes into one comprehensive indirect tax, as my friend Harsh highlighted. This was to be achieved through seamless transfer of credit and robust IT environment. If we fast forward 7 years from the implementation of GST, we find in a Pandora box of litigation surrounding GST. These litigations are result of controversial interpretation of the law by the taxpayer or the department. These controversies range right from registration to cancellation of registration, including but not limited to supply, place of supply, etc. Hi, good afternoon to all. Good afternoon to esteemed chair, my fellow delegates, and my fellow aspiring professionals. I am Yashish Shah, and I am honored to present on the topic controversies in GST. In this presentation, I would be talking about 3 controversies in the GST regime. First, Section 17(5)(d) with reference to Safari Retreats judgment. Second, cross-empowerment and parallel proceedings under GST. Third, validity of Section 16(4) of the Act. First controversy, Section 17(5)(d) with reference to Safari Retreats. It is the most awaited judgment in the indirect tax regime. The judgment is based on provision Section 17(5)(d). Now we know that the conditions prescribed for taking ITC is given under Section 16 with some restriction in Section 17(5). One such restriction is that ITC in respect of input services shall not be available for construction of immovable property other than plant and machinery held for own use on his own account. Now, the dictionary meaning of the words on his own account is for oneself. It is very important to note that. Now, talking about the Safari Retreats case, Safari Retreats is involved in construction of malls and then renting out of the malls in form of office and showrooms. Safari Retreat pays GST to the vendors on input and input services such as cement, construction material, archaeological service, etc. And then, since renting of immovable property is covered under Para 5A of Schedule 2, it is a supply of services and hence Safari Retreat also discharges 18% GST on that. Now the department was of the view that ITC was blocked for Safari Retreat subject to Section 17(5)(d). Being aggrieved, the Safari Retreat filed writ petition in Honorable Calcutta High Court contemplating that 17(5)(d) is applicable only if tax chain is broken. That is, if the building is sold after completion certificate. Disallowing ITC in such a case where the building is subsequently let out is against the principle of GST, that is to mitigate cascading effect of taxes. The petitioner argued that allowing ITC sold prior to completion certificate and not allowing if the building is subsequently let out is in violation of Article 14 of the Constitution of India, which says that equality before law. Petitioner was of the view that on his own account does not include letting out. Now consider 4 scenarios. Scenario 1, I construct a building for my office premises. ITC is blocked under section 17(5)(d). I construct a building and sold it before OC. It is supply of services, para 5B of schedule 2. 18% GST is levied, effective rate is 12% after deduction of 1/3 amount of land, and ITC is allowed. Third scenario, if I construct a building, I subsequently sell it after completion certificate. It is not a supply of services under schedule 3. And fourth scenario, if I construct a building and I rent the building after occupancy certificate, it is supply of services under para 5A of schedule 2. GST at the rate of 18% is discharged, but ITC is blocked with respect to section 17(5)(d). Department was the view that ITC is a concession, is a benefit. It is a vested right only if the conditions specified in the statute are fulfilled. In taxing statute, legislature is the ultimatum. Hence, section 17(5)(d) expressly disallows such ITC. Honorable Orissa High Court read down section 17(5)(d) only for the petitioner. It did not engage in any matter with respect to violation of Article 14. Department appealed the decision in Honorable Supreme Court. The matter is still pending before the court. Now, from this it can be construed that renting of building is not intended for sale, nor it is on his own account. As I already mentioned, on his own account means for oneself. But renting is nothing but intended for letting out. Denial of ITC makes the renting business uncompetitive, hence violation of Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. Although the decision was passed by Orissa High Court, officer can contemplate that the jurisdiction of a High Court is only valid in the state. However, in CIT Vidarbh versus Godavari, Sir of Bombay High Court held that law laid down by High Court, even if it is a different state, ought to be respected. Moving on to the second controversy, cross-empowerment and parallel proceedings. Dual model of GST refers that CGST and SGST both shall be charged, subject to section 9 of both the acts. Now, in such a case, it is important to decide who has the adjudication authority, or rather who has the jurisdiction authority for administration. In order to overcome this, Department introduced Circular 1/2017, Council dated 20 September 2017. In such, it mentioned that if the total taxpayers whose turnover is 1.5 crores will be 50-50 center state, and if the taxpayers with turnover is less than 1.5 crores, 90% authority will vest with state authorities and 10% will vest with central authorities. Now it is most important to note that the circular also stated that notification for cross empowerment under section 6(1) will be issued separately. Section 6(1) of the GST Act states that proper officer appointed under the SGST UT GST Act are proper officer of the CGST Act. Proper officer is defined under section 291, but here it is mentioned that subject to such condition as the government shall on recommendation of council by notification specify. The department believes that cross empowerment is by default applicable to all circumstances. It says that notification is required only if some conditions are imposed in the cross empowerment. Further, section 2 subsection 1 states that if officer under CGST Act passes an order under CGST Act, then he shall also pass an order under the SGST or UT GST Act. And the clause B says that if any proceedings are initiated by SGST and UT GST officers, then the CGST officers cannot begin such proceedings. Till date, cross empowerment is only notified in case of refunds. However, model notification for cross empowerment was also circulated, which were never notified. Circular CBEC dated 5 October 2018 stated that center and state authorities initiate in intelligence-based enforcement action. The department is also view, as I already mentioned, that circular is only required when cross-empowerment imposes some condition. However, it is contradictory to its own view under Circular 1/2017. In TVL Vardhan infrastructure, it was held that cross-empowerment shall only be permissible by issue of notification. Another important problem apart from cross-empowerment is proceedings initiated by different wings of the same department. In RP Buildcon Private Limited, it was held that in present era of electronic communication, parallel proceedings are not logical. Some other judgments are RCI Industries, Delhi High Court, Vaibhav Construction, Patna High Court. Now coming to validity of section 16.4 of the GST Act. Eligibility is prescribed under section 16 with some restriction under section 17.5. Section 16.4 prescribes time limit for claiming ITC. It is 30th November of the following end of financial year and actual date of annual filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. In Tirumala Konda Plywood, constitutional validity of section 16.4 was agreed. The Andhra Pradesh High Court held that section 16.4 is constitutionally valid. ITC is a vested right under section 300A only if all the conditions under the statute are contemplated. The important question is that whether section 16.4 is applicable on RCM or inputs. It is applicable on RCM, recently clarified by Circular 211. Now coming to imports. Bill of entry is not an invoice under section 31. Hence, section 16.4 requires invoice under section 266. Since bill of entry is not an invoice under section 31, it does not come in ambit of 16.4. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yashish, to getting rid of the confusion and making it more simpler. Please give a big round of applause.
As I am in Ahmedabad in front of most the Gujaratis present here, known as the Badshahs of business world, as and Gautam Adani. Imagine how much tax has been collected from these big businessmen.
Well, Dhruvi, I agree, but the litigation is a subject matter that bothers every businessman, regardless of small and big. And so, to dive into deeper, I would like to welcome our next paper presenter, Ms. Harshita Agarwal, to deliver the speech on litigation in GST, a new era of practice. Please welcome her.
Please give her a huge round of applause.
My greetings extend to the honorable dignitaries present, all the jury members, and my fellow CA students. My name is Harshita Agarwal, and I'm from the city of our Captain Cool, Ranchi. So once again, Kemcho Ahmedabad! Now, Benjamin Franklin once said that in life, there are only two certain things: death and taxes. So today, for the next 10 minutes, we are going to embark on a wonderful journey of one such tax on a flight called GST. And our captain and my topic for the day is litigation in GST, a new era of practice. So, in July 2017, various indirect taxes such as VAT, excise, service tax were removed and subsumed into a single taxation system called the GST. But what is GST? My friends, GST is an evolving law whose popularity has increased among the taxpayers in the few recent years. A recent survey by a top consulted firm showed that 84% of taxpayers responded positively towards GST. Now, I want you to look at this number. What do you think that this is? Well, ज़्यादा excited मत होना, तुम्हारी crush का phone number नहीं है. This is actually the revenue collection of GST department for the month of May 2024 only. Sounds impressive, right? Well, all of this may make it seem that GST is going leaps and bounds to impress the taxpayers and the government. But the horrors of the past still lingers. Since its implementation, the GST law has been prone to several imperfections, whether it be complex compliance structures, lack of clear guidelines, or technical glitches. So slowly, these challenges, these problems turned into what we call litigation in GST. So what is litigation in GST? Litigation in GST is everything and anything a former taxpayer, a current taxpayer, and a prospective taxpayer can do wrong, and the department can crack a whip on it. That is litigation. It can be a simple intimation of discrepancy in returns via Form ASM T10. It can be seeking additional documents for registration, that is REG03, or demand notices via DRC01 for tax, interest, and penalty payment. So, my lovely audience, please be kind, and for the next part of my speech, be my taxpayer. So, now you, as a taxpayer, have to be careful about a lot of things. First, you have to avoid the landmines. If you step on it, you might implode a litigation for yourself. So it is worth highlighting here that what are the major areas in which litigation normally happens. So all my audience and the article sitting here, please with a quick show of hands tell me, आपके ऑफिस में एक ना एक नोटिस आपको 2A, 2B versus 3B का मिला ही होगा. With a quick show of hands, please tell me. Exactly, quite a few. 20% of all litigation is related to input tax credit. And sometimes, without very simple small things, we can attract a litigation for us. Let me take a very small example. This is Thikra. In Gujarat, it is called Chikki. Chikki is taxed at the rate of 5%. But suppose, as you are my taxpayer, you are involved in manufacturing and selling of chikki. Suppose the department finds that your chikki has chocolate in it. So now your chocolate chikki will be taxed at a rate of 18% and not 5%. And believe me, taxpayers, companies have received notices worth thousands and crores because of these differences. So how important it is to understand all the provisions of GST. Now, riddle me a simple thing. क्या litigation में सिर्फ और सिर्फ taxpayer की गलती होती है? क्या department की तरफ से हर चीज बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही है? Well, sadly, the answer is no. The department has some issues which has increased in number of litigation. One point worth highlighting would be the issuance of taxes because it is prone to getting time barred. December 2023, 1.45 lakh notices were issued in that single month because that was the last month to issue notices relating to 2017-18, and that's why it was done. Other points may be that they have a habit of repeating notices or even directly sending AI-generated notices. Now, we talked about the problems, but where are the solutions? Where are the opportunities? Well, the solutions lies with chartered accountants, the opportunity lies with chartered accountants. In streamlining the whole process of GST, chartered accountants played a very, very pivotal role. From filing GSTR1 to GSTR3B to standing in front of the proper officer for litigation to representing to the government about the recommendations made. I recently read somewhere that the Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association wrote a letter to our Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharamanji, to recommend the changes that needs to be made that would help the taxpayers. Now, with the help of government, industry, professionals like chartered accountants, what happened? That the GST process streamlined. One big example is that happened in the recent 53rd GST Council meeting. The point relating to ITC, that one which will fill a lot of gray areas in our litigation process. But what about from a practicing chartered accountant's point of view? One may say that since chartered accountants have already helped streamline the whole process, their practice might fall down. They won't get any litigation. Notices will stop coming. Well, that is simply not true. The role of chartered accountants in indirect taxation domain is not going down anytime soon as the department moves from operational to interpretational issues, including HSN classification and even learning about the costing of whole industries to realize कि कहाँ पे गलती हो रही है. It was the educational initiatives, the technological initiatives of the chartered accountants who have helped the GST law to become so much more better for the taxpayers, and their opportunities in practice in this indirect taxation domain is not going down. Well, I started with GST. I went with GST. So I would like to bid my goodbye with GST. So goodbye, stay happy, and thank you all for being such wonderful listeners. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harshita, to make the litigations more simple. Please give him a huge round of applause.
Our session chairman, CA Dr. Avinash Podar sir, is appearing before various forums, including Supreme Court, High Court, tribunals, including NCLT, Advanced Ruling Authority, etc. Please give him a huge round of applause.
And now, I would like to request our session chairman, CA Dr. Avinash Podar sir, to grace the dais and share his enlightening views with us. Mike.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've been asked to comment on, as a session chairman, on the 3 presentations which have been given before all of you now. At the outset, let me congratulate each one of them at this stage of their life when they are pursuing the course as a student, conceiving the idea and deliberating before the audience of around 2000 plus people is really commendable. Secondly, when we talk about GST, all the 3 spheres have been covered in these 3 presentations because it starts with collection. The compliances start with collection, which has been covered by Harsh. Once the collections are done, then the controversies are raised by the department authorities or maybe by the taxpayers. And because of those controversies which has been dealt with by Yashish, the litigation starts. And the litigation has been dealt by Harshita. So all the 3 spheres which I understand, which completes the circle of GST, has been covered by all 3 paper presenters. And I'm extremely, extremely happy to see the contents, to see the efforts, and to see the way of deliberation in which they have covered within the stipulated time limit the topic which has been allotted to them or rather which have been selected by them. So once again, many congratulations to each one of you. Now it all depends on my jury friends. They have to decide and take the call. But one thing I would like to share, and I am extremely sure that both my jury friends will be agreeing to this, including Nirav Bhai and all the seniors who are available in this hall, that when we did CA long back in 90s, I cannot even dream of speaking in front of so many people on a technical subject. And this is too technical. When talking about 17.5D, I was like surprised. 17.5D, 16.4, these are the hot topics of the day. We are discussing day in, day out. We are arguing before the courts day in and day out. Like collections, going into the detail of the global impact of those collections and how the GDP is going to be impacted, and the way and the manner in which the litigation subject was dealt with is something which is really commendable, and something which I can say that now the era, now the time is changing too fast. Not only the GST law, but the entire curriculum of chartered accountancy is also changing too fast, and therefore these students who are going to now represent ICAI in future are certainly going to take ICAI a long way. And therefore, once again, not only congratulations to these 3 paper presenters, but also to the branch for wonderful, wonderful conference of CA students. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving your words.
Please give him a huge round of applause. And now I would like to request our managing committee members of Vikasa to escort our jury to the dais. Now, I would like to request CA Neerav Agarwal sir and Mr. Krish Shah to felicitate our jury.
Now, I would like to request CA Punit Prajapati sir, the member of the jury, to give his views on our paper presenters.
Thank you, everyone. Let me tell you that merely by writing a paper and sending to the ICAI and coming over the stage, let me tell you, all three have already won. So for all three, let me tell you, it was an excellent. Whatever the result come, don't take it. Every day, some may lose, some may win, but you three already have won. One or two things I will like to share. In any technical speeches or any technical address, you should have more focus on technicalities and the content and the depth of the subject. If you are good at that, let me tell you, your way of expression, your some errors in the language will be ignored by the crowd. So even today, how the marks are decided, high weight or high number of marks are dedicated to the content and the knowledge of the subject. So if you have a good command over the subject, let me tell you, any one of you can be the speaker. And I see, or I hope, next year, many of you will be sending the paper and will be speaking from these dais. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity as one of the jury. Rather, I was discussing with Puneet bhai कि हमारी तो हिम्मत भी नहीं थी, हैसियत भी नहीं थी कि when we were doing chartered accountancy, we could address this level of audience. So whatever has been spoken is in depth and very energetic along with the right perspective. Regarding other friends who are sitting this side of the dais, there are so much opportunities. India is poised that in next 20 years we can make growth of 50 years at least. So please look after tax technology, fintech companies, new opportunities. Just don't stick to audit and tax and accounting standards, though it is completely relevant and important, but there are so much avenues world around, and our youth and our talent can go far beyond the typical course or the typical kind of verticals that we have been, all generation has been practicing all the way. So please devote your time after fintech technology, tax technologies, AI, ML, वो सब जो buzzword है जो हमको तो सिर्फ बोलना आता है, but you can really practice and can do wonders out of it. All the best. Thank you so much.
So guys, at the end of such a wonderful session, I really consider all of us such a lucky and to have such a great juries, great session chairman for today's session. Thank you all.
To capture this unforgettable memory, I would like to request everyone on the dais for the group photo.
Now guys, first session ended pretty well and I know that most of us will be waiting for lunch. But please wait and fasten your seat belts as our next powerful session is about to go on. Thank you so much.